सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयं यत्सर्वविषयातीतं तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। The discussion that is going on here is with a Purva Pakshi or an Ekadeshi who thinks that prasankhyanam or repeating this knowledge aham brahmasmi is necessary in order to gain abidance in knowledge, then only you can get moksha. So merely knowledge that you gain by Mahavakya is not enough. Right? You need to repeat that, which is Kriya. And here the author is saying how Kriya or Karma has no room when the knowledge has taken place, because very Kartrutva is negated. सिद्धो मोक्षहमित्येवं ज्ञात्वात्मानं भवेद्यदि चिकीर्षुः. That I am moksha, that is already accomplished. Not that I have become liberated, I was liberated. Evam jnatva atmanam chikirshu bhaved. Now still there is a desire to do something. Samudhatma shastram cha udghadayati api. So he is a mudhatma who has not understood, and in fact is the one that is negating the shastra. Nahi siddhasya kartavyam sakaryasya na siddhata. When a siddha or accomplished, there should not be any kartavya or something to be done, because Kritakrityata means that one has done whatever needs to be done. If you think that some kartavya still remains, that means it is not yet accomplished your goal. Ubhayalamban kuruvan atmanam vanchayatyapi. That to say that I am mukta also and still I have to do something, so ubhayalambanam kritva, accepting both of them together, you are in fact atmanam vanchayati, you are cheating your own self, misguiding your own self. So Purva Pakshi said, Siddho mokshas tvamir etad vastu matram padarshate. When Shruti says, Tvam siddha moksha, you are moksha, which is already your nature accomplished, Vastu matram padarshate, which is when the scripture is teaching you, it is just teaching you what is vastu matram padarshate, just the nature of vastu or the self is being told. Shrutuhu tathat, but then that is, Shruti says that you are Brahma, you are Moksha. Shrutuhu tathat vijnane pravati syat kathannoiti. But then Shruta has to actually realize that. The Shruta is told that you are Brahman, but then the Shruta has to realize that I am Brahman, and for that some activity is required. You don't become Brahman by being told that you are Brahman, that you have to become Brahman, that's what they say. Karta dukhi ahamasmiti pratyakshena anubhuyate. Because what is my experience is that I am a karta, a doer. Dukhi, I am unhappy, I am sad. So pratyakshena, that is my direct experience. Pratyakshena, not perceptual experience. Atma is not perceived, but that's my immediate experience. Karta dukhi cha mabhuvam. And Shruti says that you are a karta. You are nirdukhi. So, I don't want to be karta, I don't want to dukhi iti yatno bhavet tataha. Therefore, I have to become free from kartrutva, dukhitva, and for that an effort has to be made. Tad vijnana yuktyadi kartavyam shrutirabravit. Shruti also said that after shravanam, atma or mantavya. That mantavya yuktyadi kartavyam. So, kartavya means something to be done is also what is prescribed by the Shruti. Kartrutvadanuvadena. So, tvaya shrotavya mantavya. By you, who is you? The karta. Kartrutvadi anuvadena. Siddhatva anubhavayatu. That you who takes yourself to be karta must recognize that you are a siddha. For anubhava, that I am already mukta, some activity has to be done. In this case, maranam, etc. How can merely being told that you are mukta, you are Brahman, should be enough? So that gives you the possibility, the potential of what you are, but you have to actualize that potential. And for that, action is required. Niyam kalpana shrutenusarneti siddhanti dushayate. This kalpana that you are making, that something remains to be done even after knowing that I am Brahman, or after being told that you are Brahman, that is not enough to make you see that you are Brahman. That kalpana na shruti anusarani, that is not in keeping with the Shruti. Nirdukho nishkriyo kamaha siddho mokshaham Vitve viruddhartham adadyat kathameva saha. Gruhitva. So, having recognized, having known, or having seen this fact, nirdukhoham, nishkriyoham, akamoham, siddhoham, mokshaham iti. So, vakyat na jayate vedi vaktum. So, when you are told, does it not make you see this fact about yourself? The Purva Pakshi says that when you are told that, then you are told that this is your potential, and then you must do something to realize that potential. Siddhanti says that you already are. So, you have to see what you are. That's what is being told by the Shruti. Vakyat jnanam na jayate. That tattvamasi, but by that vakya, the knowledge of that vakya does not take place, that you must do something for that knowledge. Iti anuchitam, that is not right. Because then vakya does not generate the knowledge, not pramanam. Anubhava virodhacha, and then it also contradicts wise people's experience. Tathari utpanne jnane tad viruddha pratipattihi na sanja ghatiti iti abhipraya. And therefore, when the knowledge is there, still for you to recognize just opposite of that, Guritvaiva viruddhartham adadyat kathameva saha. So, akamaha, akarma, akartaham, recognizing that how can then do something opposite of that? Continuing the verse, next verse 215. यदि वाक्यादेव निर्दुःखत्वादि निर्दुःखादि लक्षणो मोक्ष आत्मसाक्षात्कारः. So Purva Pakshi asks here, यदि वाक्यादेव merely by the statement तत्त्वमसि निर्दुःखादि लक्षण मोक्ष आत्मसाक्षात्कारः. निर्दुःखोऽहं निष्क्रियोऽहं अकामोऽहं सिद्धोऽहं मुक्तोऽहं इत्यादि लक्षण मोक्ष आत्म साक्षात्कार. That moksha is of this lakshana. Nirdukha, niskriya, akama, siddha is the nature of moksha. And that is the nature of Atma. So Atma Sakshatkara, recognizing the Atma as the nature of moksha, is nirdukha, niskriya, akama. If this is so, कथम तरी तदा तद्विरुद्ध आकार अनुभव इति. Then how come we are experiencing something quite contrary to this? If that is our nature, nirdukha, niskriya, how come we are experiencing something contrary to that? Iti pruchati. This is what the Purva Pakshi asks here, sakama iti. Sakama sakriyo siddha इति मे अनुभवः कथम् अतो मे विपरीतस्य तद्भवान् वक्तुमर्हति. Then sakamaha, I am possessed of desires. Sakriyaha, I am possessed of action. Not niskriya, sakriya. Not akamaha, sakamaha. Not siddha, asiddha. That I am not yet accomplished. Moksha, I am not mukta. Iti me anubhava katham. How come my experience about myself is quite contrary to my nature? If my nature is devoid of desires, so akamaha, nirdukha, niskriya, that's my nature. How come I find myself quite contrary to that? That's a big riddle here actually. This is where the difficulty is with reference to what Vedanta teaches. And what Vedanta teaches about ourselves sounds quite contrary to what we have been always taking ourselves to be. And just by being told that this is nirdukha, niskriya, akamaha, siddha, moksha, stvam, if that just eliminates all this brahma, then katham tari, then how come today I am experiencing the opposite? Sakamaha, I am with kamana, sakriya, with kriya, asiddha, not accomplished, bound. Iti me anubhava katham. So how do you explain that experience? How do you explain my experience of my taking myself to be quite contrary to what I am? This is the problem. The world is mithya, I take it to be real. I am purna limitless, I take myself to be limited, insignificant. So, since our experience about ourselves is quite contrary, And that has been the basis of my life from the time beginningless. Because what I understand about myself becomes a basis of my life, becomes basis of how I think, what my values are, what my actions are, what my life is. So conclusion about myself or the perception about myself is the most important thing in my life, because that determines everything about my life, including whether I'm happy, unhappy and everything. Therefore, sakamaha, sakriyaha, asiddha iti me anubhava katham ato me viparitasya tad bhavan vaktumarati atah sakamatvad rupad viparitasya me. I who is quite contrary to sakama, sakriya, siddha, so I who is quite contrary to that, how do I experience myself to be so? Me brahma bhutasya, I who am Brahman, tad bhavan vaktum arhati. Your good self should tell me how I experience myself different from, contrary to what I am, not only different, contrary. So then next verse is ihaiva ghatate prashnah न मुक्तत्वानुभूयत्भूतये प्रमाणेन विरोधीयः सूत्रार्थः प्रश्नमर्हति. Ihaiva ghatate prashna. This question is quite appropriate. When you ask how come I experience myself to be contrary to what I truly am, that question is understandable. That question should arise. Ihaiva prashna ghatate. That question makes sense. The muktatva anubhute. But how can I experience myself to be free? That question is not appropriate because that's your nature. Pramanena virodhya satrartha prashnamarhati. Pramanam says moksha asti, moksha asti, si asi, muktosi. And then you say that baddhoham. So pramana virodha. So that experience or conclusion that is contrary to pramanam, so that prashna atrartha prashnamarhati. How can it be? Now, how can I be liberated? That cannot be a question. Question is, how come I find myself bound? Even though liberation is my nature, that question is appropriate. But how can I be liberated? That is not an appropriate question, because that's what the pramana says. Pramana virodhya. When you say I am bound, that is quite contrary to what pramana says, that you are liberated, you are free. So when pramana says I am free, how come I find myself bound? That is a very valid question. How can I be free? When pramana says, how can I? That question is not appropriate because pramana says that. Upanishad says that you are free, therefore, how can I be free? That is not an appropriate question. Upanishad says you are free, then how can I be bound? That certainly can be an appropriate question. Anyasvabhavasya satah mama anyasvabhava anubhava katham. I who is possessed of one nature, namely liberation, then how can I have experience about myself which is contrary, that is I am bound? Yasmin arthe sakrit shrutavakyasya pumsa prashno ghatate. First time when you hear that, then certainly that question arises. Sakrit means once. Hey, you are free, you are liberated, how can I be? ननु कथमहम निर्दुःखादि रूपः इति मुक्तत्वानुभवार्थे कथम दुःखित्वादि रूपः. How can I be dukkhi? That question is appropriate. How can I be nirdukkha rupa? That question is not appropriate because that is what the Upanishad says, that you are nirdukhosi. So, iti muktatva anubhavarthe. That cannot be a question because that's what Shruti says. When if somebody who knows says that this is, the place, how can that be this place? Well, this is what it is. So, when an authority says that, you cannot ask the question, why? How can it be? You can ask, why do I think like this? Iti muktatva anubhavarthe kathamaham nirdukkhadi rupa. How can I be nirdukkhadi? How can I be nirdukha, akamaha, akriyaha? Iti muktatva anubhavarthe. So that is the experience of a wise person. That cannot be a question because it is in keeping with pramanam. So what is contrary to pramanam that can raise a question when Upanishad says, how do I feel myself bound? So you must keep pramanam as the beginning point. Not that you say that I am dukkhi, how can I be liberated, how can I be sukhi, how can I anandoham, how can I be... No. Upanishad says you are Ananda, then your question is, how can I be Dukkhi? That's what we are always saying this. So Vedanta doesn't say, who am I? Vedanta says, you are Brahman. So begin from there. This is not an inquiry as to who am I. Vedanta reveals, you are Brahman. Sadeva Swami idamagrasi ekameva dvitiyam atmava idameka evagrasita nanyat kinchana mishat. So Upanishad starts making a statement. So it is not who am I, even though in Aitreya Upanishad this question arises, that is asked there. But if you begin with who am I, you can never get an answer. Who will give you an answer? Who am I? Now you start. Who will give you an answer? You already concluded who you are. So how will the answer be contrary to what you have concluded? Unless something happens inside, like a chamatkara. So we have to start with the fact that I am Brahman. So question is not how am I Brahman? How do I think myself not Brahman? Because that question can be answered. How can I be Brahman? That question cannot be answered. Because that's what you are. How is not a question, that's what you are. But if you think that I am bound, then that's the question. How can I be bound? The prashna vishayam vivicche prativakti. And so that prashna is all right. Nanu katham nirdukkhadi rupa iti muktatvanubhavarthe. That nirdukkhadi rupa katham, that cannot be a question. How come dukkhittvadi rupa? Therefore the verse yahaiva ghatate prashna. So ato me viparitasya katham anubhava. How come I experience myself contrary to what the Shruti says? Yaheva ghatate prashna. So that is where the prashna is appropriate. The muktatva anubhuta, how can I be mukta? That is not appropriate because that's what Shruti says, that you are mukta. How can I be, suppose you ask a question, how can I be orange? How can this cloth be orange? Who can answer that question? Eyes are a pramanu, reveal the color and it says this is orange. If you thought that it is yellow, then you would ask, how come I thought it was yellow? Or how come to me it looks yellow? If your conclusion is different from what the Pramana says, then the question will be about your conclusion. How come I think this is yellow? How come I think it is green or something? Maybe some color problem is there. Then I'll examine the right place. Otherwise, I keep on asking, how can this be orange? When I think that it's green, how can it be orange? So I take my conclusion to be the basis, and then I question what the Pramana says. So I take my conclusion, I am dukkhi as basis, and ask, how can I be nirdukhi? Says, no, that's not the way. Upanishad says you are nirdukhi, so ask, how can I be dukkhi? So, ihaiva ghatave prashna na muktatva anubhutaye. How can I be mukta, or how can I experience mukti? That cannot be a question. Pramana virodhya sahatrartha prashnamarhati. Prashna is about that which is opposed to pramana, contrary to pramana. So how do I take this to be green when my eyes say this is orange? That is an appropriate question. How can I be orange when I think it is green? That is not an appropriate question. But then I question my conclusion, not I question what the pramana says, not what the eyes say. How can I see it differently? Then maybe I should go to a doctor. Ajnata jnapana svabhavena pramanena apurvarthe bodhite tad virodhiyah pramana abhasa grihitartha sa prashnamarhati iti uktam prapanchayati. So, yaheva ghatate prashna, so that the tika, the author explains, Ajnata jnapana svabhavena pramanena apurvarthe bodhite. One of the characters of pramana is apurva. It gives you a knowledge that cannot be given by any other means. Eyes reveal the color which no other means, ears and skin and etc. Nobody else can reveal that color. That's the uniqueness of pramana. Apurvata, uniqueness. So when you say the Upanishad is pramana, then what Upanishad reveals is unique. Cannot be revealed by any other pramana, including your buddhi, etc. Ajnata jnapana svabhavena pramanena. It is not ajnata jnapanam, it is viprita jnapanasya, viprita gneyasya. So what is known contrary is in fact revealed correctly. So what is wrongly known is to be known rightly. This is what, anyway, this is the way Upanishad works, Pramanam works. So Brahma or Viprita Jnanam is removed here, not Ajnanam is removed. Although Ajnata Jnapakam Pramanam, but Upanishad is not truly Ajnata Jnapakam, because not that we don't know Atma at all. We know Atma and then that's just like rope snake. It's not that we don't know the rope. We know the rope, that this is an object, but then there is a Brahma, that this is snake. Did not know the rope, perhaps there would be no problem. So Pramana apurvarthe bodhite. This is true that Pramana always reveals something unique which cannot be revealed by any other means. Tad virodhi ya Pramana abhasa gruhitartha. And then you have this conclusion, dukkhiyaham, kartaham, sakamahoham. That is the Pramana abhasa. That conclusion comes from the buddhi, which cannot distinguish, which doesn't have the viveka, which cannot separate Atma from Atma. So that is the conclusion born of aviveka. Sa prashnamarhati. So that conclusion deserves a questioning. How do I think myself to be limited when Upanishad says I am limitless? So next verse is Aham nirmukta ityeva sadasityanyam सदसीत्यन्यमानजः प्रत्यक्षाभासजन्यत्वात् दुःखित्वं प्रश्नमर्हति. अहम निर्मुक्तः इत्येव सदसि इति अन्यमानजः. अन्यत् मानं तज्जः. Anyamana is a Shruti here. So aham nirmuktah iti sadasi. This is what the Upanishad says, sadasi. So that manam pramanam is different pramanam from the one that I conclude that I'm bound or I'm limited. So sadasi, you are sat means you are limitless. So there is no boundary, you are boundless. So aham nirmukta iti eva. And so that is a knowledge that should arise from that statement that you are Sat. But then I think that I am Dukhi. Now that conclusion is Pratyaksha Abhasa Janyatvat. Is not Pratyaksha Abhasa. Meaning that it is the result of the aviveka or the inability to discriminate. Not that you are experiencing limited Atma, understand. You are not experiencing limited Atma, you have concluded that Atma is limited. We are experiencing Atma as an Atma, limitless and limited. And not being able to distinguish between the two, we lump them together and conclude that Atma is limited. Tadvirodi ya pramana abhasa guhitartha. This pramana abhasa, you think that that is my experience. It is not your experience. It is not that experience that Atma is limited. It is a conclusion that Atma is limited. That you are experiencing limited upadhi, you are experiencing Atma, and you lump them together and conclude that Atma is limited. So you can't say that I am limited is my experience, is my conclusion. You cannot experience what is not there. Therefore, sadas pratyaksha abhasa janyatva dukkhitvam prashnamarhati. That I am dukhi is born of pratyaksha abhasa. You think that there is my experience. It is not experience. It is a conclusion, not an experience. Conclusion that is born of lumping together two contrary entities. Idanim shishya akanksha vashenapi karyakalpanam na ghatate iti. All this is in reply to that question that no karya or kriya remains after knowledge. Nothing remains to be done after knowledge. And in the process we are also being told how to interpret the Mahavakya or how the Mahavakya does its job. That is mainly being told in the process of this question answer. Understand that this Purvapaksha and Uttara, the purpose unfold this subject matter and help us reveal how the Mahavakya works, what's the nature of knowledge, how knowledge takes place. So the purpose of the discussion is that. Idanim shishya akanksha vashenapi. Now what is the akanksha or what does the disciple expect? Shishya akanksha vashenapi karyakalpanam na ghatate. That there is some karya, something remains to be done. That kalpana, that after knowledge also something remains to be done, na ghatate, is not logical. It is not possible. So verse 218 says, Prashtamakankshitam vachyam dukkha bhavam abhipsitam. Prashtam akankshitam vachyam. The teacher has to reply what the disciple has akankshitam. what the expectation of the disciple is, or what it is that the disciple wants to know, is what the teacher has to say. Kim tadakangshitam. What is it that disciple expects? Dukha abhavam abhipsitamete. The disciple wants to be free from the dukkha, that's all. I am dukkhi and then I want to be free from that. Swami namaste, nataloka bandho, etc. He comes, Durvara samsara, davagni taptam, dodhu vimanam, durdashtavataihi, bhitam, prapannam, paripahi mrityoho, saranyanyat, aham na jane. So I'm, really scared, I'm afraid, I'm drowning in the ocean of samsara, please save me, lift me up, rescue me. That is the akanksha of the shishya. So dukkhasya abhava yasmin tad dukkha bhavam brahma rupam moksha lakshanam ityartha. Dukkha abhava ipsitam. Dukkha abhava ipsita, that's what should have been said, But dukkha abhavam. That is why he says dukkha abhavam is the adjective of Brahma. Brahma rupam moksha lakshanam dukkha bhavam. That I want to know Brahman. But what is Brahman? Dukkha bhavam. That where there is a totally absence of dukkha. That Brahman I want to know. Prashna swarupam upanyasya tat anurupatvam prativachanasya nigamayati. Prashna swarupam upanyasta. Upanyasya. So, having now introduced or spoken about what is the nature of prashna, tat anurupam prativachanam. The reply of the teacher, which must be appropriate to the question, is now concluded here, nigamayati. Katham hidam nivarteta dukkham sarvatmana mama iti prashnanarupam yata vachyam dukkha nivartakam. Katham idam dukkham sarvatmama dukkham sarvatmana nivarteta. Idam mama dukkham, this sadness, sorrow that I experience, katham sarvatmana nivarteta. How can we eliminate it totally? Sarvatmana. How can I be totally free from the dukkha or the sorrow? It is not physical pain that he is asking about, it is a mental, manasa santapa. So, this sorrow that I am experiencing, how can I become free from that? It is prashnarupam yadvachyam. And therefore the teacher must reply, in keeping with this question, how can I be forever become free from all the dukkha? Dukkha nivartakam. Therefore, whatever it is that will eliminate the dukkha is what the teacher has to reply, because that is what the disciple wants to know. Pushtameva uchyate prasankhyanam dvarena. We are not saying that prasankhyanam means that we are replying something different from what the student has asked. Prasankhyanam, repeating aham brahmasmi, does the same thing. Tad vyatirekena shrutehe dukkha aparayana asamarthya samarthya abhavat. What we are saying is that unless he keeps repeating aham brahmasmi, then only that statement becomes capable of actually doing his job, not otherwise. Just by being told once that you are Brahman, and he is recognizing I am Brahman, doesn't do the job. He must keep repeating aham brahmasmi, then only that knowledge becomes capable of doing its job, of removing all the dukkha. So, prashtameva uchyate prasankhyanadvarena. even through prasankhyan also, we are saying that what the teacher is supplying is exactly what the student wants to know. That how can I become all dukkha, become free from pain altogether, free from sorrow forever. Tad vyatirikena shrutehe dukkha panayana samarthya bhavat. Unless the disciple repeats Aham Brahmasmi, merely Aham Brahmasmi, that one knowledge, is not able to eliminate its dukkha. He has to keep on repeating that in order for that to become firm, and then only the dukkha will go. Iti ashankya pramanasya prame avabodhanameva karyam na karyantaramasti. Pramanasya prame avabodhanam. So Pramana's job is to just make known Prameya, the object of knowledge. The eye's job of the eye is to make you know the color of this cloth is orange. That's all. The Karyantaram, it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't say, hey, put it down, lift it up. So eyes don't tell you that. Eyes simply say, this is orange. Oh, it's orange, I don't want it. Then that is a different matter. Then something else, some other reason can be there for you to take some action. Oh, then I want it. I want to put it in my pocket. So that kind of kriya, eyes don't tell you, put it in your pocket. Eyes only say, this is orange. The buddhi can tell you what I want to do. So, pramanasya prameya avabodhanameva karyam. Pramana, the means of knowledge, only thing it does is to reveal the object, prameya. So, the object of knowledge, the karyantaram, then it does not do anything else, nor does it induce you into any other activity. So, Shrutehe, next verse is Shrute Swatmani Nashanka Pramanye Sati Vidyate Tasmadatma Vimuktatvam Pratyayadi Tadvacha Vaktavyam Tattathartham Syat Virode Sati Kenachita. Shrutehe Swatmani Pramanya na ashanka vidyate. Shrutehe Pramanya Sati Atmani ashanka na vidyate. Shrutehe Swata Siddhi. Now Pramana means Swata Siddham. What is meant by Swata Siddham is, when I say that this is orange, so how do you verify that this is orange? Now the example they give is that this is silver, this is gold. That's what my eyes say. How do you verify? You go to a jeweler and ask the jeweler, what is this? And he says this is gold. Then that's a verification or confirmation of what the eyes have told. This is what some other people feel like Nayayikas, etc. That knowledge also requires to be confirmed. Our question is, how is a jeweler also going to determine this is gold? Through his eyes only, isn't it? Even a jeweler also will determine that this is gold through his eyes. So eyes ultimately are pramana. Not jeweler. And there was Swata Siddhe Pramanya Sati. Shruti Swata Siddham, meaning that Shruti itself or any pramana is also Swata Siddham, not only Shruti. Any pramanam is proof for itself only. Evidence. So, eyes only can tell you. Ears and other means of knowledge cannot contradict what the eyes say. Shruti pramanam Swata Siddham. Every pramanam basically is Swata Siddham, means that it is only confirms, verifies its own self, validates its own self. There is no other pramanam can validate what the other pramanam says. The skin cannot validate what the eye say, that this is orange, I feel that this is orange. No, there is no way. Shrutehe Swatasiddhe Pramanya Sati. अंदर आ भी गई उसे. He doesn't know how to get out now. Oh, અહીંયા ખોલી નાખો ભાઈ, છે ખુલ્લું. Shrutehe Swatasiddhe Pramanya Sati. So Shruti is a pramanam, Swatasiddha meaning it validates itself. And that is true for any pramanam. Because that is called a pramanam which has uniqueness. So that is called apurvata. That the apurva means that whatever a pramana reveals, that is not available for any other pramana. Colors are available only for the eyes to be revealed, not for any other means of knowledge, no other sense organ. So only eyes, other eyes can validate. If I say this is orange, who will validate? Some other eyes only will validate. Swatasiddhe pramanya sati swatmani swapramena ashanka vidyate. And Atma is the prameya. So what is the subject matter of the Shruti? Atma. Or one's own self. That is prameya, that is the object that is revealed by the Shruti, and Shruti is the pramanam. So ashanka na vidyate. Just as when eyes say that this is an orange color, no shanka, there is no place for any doubt. If you accept your eyes as valid, so also if you accept Shruti as pramanam. That's why the Shruti Pramanya is very important. The Shruti is Pramanam with reference to Atma. Swaprameya na ashanka vidyate. Prameya is the object of knowledge. So Atma or Brahman is the object of knowledge. Prameya as far as Shruti is concerned. Every Pramana is a Prameya. Eyes are Pramanam for which Prameya is a color. Ears are Pramana which Shabda sound is the Prameya. So Shruti is Pramana which Atma is the Prameya. Na Shanka Ashanka Vidyate. Swaprameya Avabhasa Samarthya Abhava Ashanka Na Vidyate. That we don't have any doubt about the eyes revealing its color, which is the subject, which is the object, which is the Prameya or object of knowledge. So also Shruti reveals the nature of Atma through the Vakya. And so that is where we begin. When you say that Shruti is a Pramanam, which means there is no doubt or question about the validity of what the Shruti says. Except the Shruti is in the form of words, therefore, the question is how to understand those words. All the discussions are there because Shruti is a Pramanam, Shabda Pramanam, and Shabda requires interpretation. So what is the meaning of a word is determined by the one who uses the word, the tatparya. It is not always the grammatical meaning of the word that determines what's the meaning, it is the intended meaning. And therefore, what is the intention of Shruti in using these vakyas? This is what tatparya nirnaya is the main problem. That is what is being discussed here. Therefore, we cannot doubt the capability of Shruti to reveal the nature of Atma. Kim tata siddham. So what is, what do you prove by that? So first line, Shrutehe swatmani pramanye sati ashanka na vidyate. When Shruti is a pramanam as far as the Atma, then there cannot be doubt about the nature of Atma that Shruti reveals. Kim tata siddham. So what does it amount to? Then second line says, Tasmat आत्मविक्तत्वं प्रत्यायति तद्वचः. तस्मात् therefore आत्मविमुक्तत्वं तद्वचः प्रत्यायति. Tadvacha Shruti vacha. The words of the statement of Shruti, pratyayati, creates in me the conviction about the Atma-Viktattvam, that Atma is Mukta. So this is what the Shruti creates in me, a knowledge. Pratyaya also means knowledge. Pratyayati creates in me knowledge or conviction that Aham Vimuktaha. मुक्तत्व प्रत्यय प्रति कारणत्वं याति इत्यर्थः. प्रत्यायति प्रत्यय प्रति कारणत्वं याति, meaning that Shruti becomes the karanam, the reason, cause, the reason for creating that pratyaya or knowledge that aham nitya mukta hai. Virodha pariharasya krutatvad bhava. Because all virodha, contradictory things have been already refuted here. Vaktavyam tat tathartham sayat avirode asat virode asati kenachita. So tat tatha artham syat. Whatever Shruti says, that's what it will be. Asati virode kenachit virode asati. But there is nothing to contradict what the Shruti says, and that is what Shruti says will be the meaning. For example, when the eyes say that this is orange, if there is nothing else to contradict that, then this is orange. So Shruti says that you are Brahman, if there is nothing else to contradict. Yeah, my mind says I am not Brahman, then we question. And then what is the nature of ignorance, etc. is being discussed there. But once the mind understands what Shruti says, then there is no question. Tat tathartham syat. Therefore, it is what we have been saying, meaning that prasankhyanam has no role here. Vakya just reveals your nature and then you know what the nature is, and that is enough. You don't need to do anything about that with that knowledge. Vakyasya uktartha anubhahetutam vihaya gatyantaram nasti anubhamargatam ityaha. Vakyasya uktartha anubhahetutam vihaya. Vakyam uktartha anubhavahetuhu. So Vakya is the hetu, the cause for uktartha anubhava, for anubhava, then nitya muktosmi. So Shruti Vakya becomes the hetu, or the cause or a means of creating this pratyaya, this knowledge that nitya muktosmi. Vihaya. So you want to discard that. Gatyantaram nasti. There is no other way to see. What other activity does a Vakya do? The only activity that a Vakya does is reveal its object. You can't say Vakya asks you to do something, it just reveals. And then what to do is something, if there's something to be done, that is what your mind will tell you. So Gatyantaram nasti. Now, any gati, any other meaning, such as prasankhyanam, etc., has no scope. Anubhava marga gatam ityaha. So nothing else comes in the marga on the way of experiencing, because pramana reveals what is and that's what you know, and it does not induce you to do so. As far as the doing is concerned, your mind does it. Mimamsaka say that Vedas in fact command you to perform action, So do this and do that, for example, do's and don'ts. Brahmano yajeta, etc. So says Brahmana is told to perform. He says, no, nobody can tell Brahmana what to do. His mind has to tell him. All the Shruti says that doing this is beneficial to you. When Shruti even enjoins you to do something, nobody can enjoin somebody else to do anything. Even Shruti cannot do that. Shruti does it, then also it doesn't have, it won't affect me. I should discover, I should find it to be useful to me, then only I will do. So when Shruti asks me to do something, it says, in effect, it says, hey, this is good for you. Do this. This is good for you. So when mother says, eat this, that means it is good for you. That is how you should understand. Whether you eat or not is what you will decide. But then when it is said, that is good for you. So that is the only thing that Vakya does. And Vakya doesn't, in fact, Mahavakya doesn't tell you to do anything. And so the next verse is, Itonyo kaschita atmano nopapadyate avijñātam vijānatam vijñātāramiti śrutehe itah anyah atmana kaschit anubhava na upapadyate. So other than that, so prakarantara kalpana anupanna shruti virodhat. So therefore there is no anubhava other than what the Shruti says. Shruti says you are Brahman and then my anubhava is that I am Jiva. That cannot be. Therefore, itaha anyabhava kaschit atma na upapadyate. Atma happens to be nirdukhi, happens to be akamaha, happens to be nityamukta, and that experience alone is appropriate. That alone is tenable. Avijñātam vijānatam vijñātāramana kena vijñā iti shrutehe. Shruti virodhat iti aha. Avijñātam vijānatam is unknown to those who know. Vijñātam avijānatam. Those who say, I know Atma, they do not know. Those who know Atma don't say. He doesn't say, I don't know Atma. I don't know Atma, they don't say. I don't say I know Atma. Those who know Atma don't say I don't know Atma. Avijñātam vijānatam. Vijānatam, those who know, they do not know, no. They do not say that I know. Vijñātam avijānatam. So those who know, they do not say that I know. You can't say that those who know do not know. Those who know, they don't say I know. Yadi manyase suvedeti dakhremeva pinunam vettattvam brahmano rupam. You think that you know Brahman very well, then you know only a fraction of Brahman. So mimamsam, therefore you have to further inquire, deliberate upon this. So avijñātam vijānatam, meaning that those who know, they don't say that I know, because it is not an object of knowledge like ghatapata. In that sense, vijñātāram arekena vijaniyat. What's the means of knowing the knower? So knower is not known like ghatapata. Not that it is not known. The knower is known as a knower or the witness, but is not known like any other object. So these statements are meant to help us give up the traditional or the habitual effort of always objectifying something. So, because that's what we do. We think that we know something when we objectify it. And therefore, niyadam yadidam upasate tadeva brahmatvam viddhi. What you say, idam cannot be Brahman. Therefore, avijñātam vijānatam prakarantara kalpana anupanna shruti virodhat. Meaning that if you know it any other way, then you do not know it. This is how this statement should be understood. If you know it different from what the Shruti says, that you are Brahman, if you know it differently, you do not know it. And so, prakarantara kalpana anupanna, so that This sentence has some other activity or other purpose to serve. That kalpana doesn't, is inappropriate, is not in place here. Okay, we'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.